the best places to record are either in a closet, because there's lots of clothes to absorb the sound, or build yourself a blanket fort.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Reagan, and you've discovered Unicorns Unite. This is a podcast for freelancers, service providers, virtual assistants, and curious listeners who would like to experience the freedom and flexibility of working virtually. We're the magic makers, movers and shakers, and the real people doing the work behind the scenes of online businesses. Welcome to Unicorns Unite. Hey everyone, I am so happy to be here with you today. I love these Thursday interviews. I love getting to talk to real people behind the scenes doing the real work. And I love getting their insight to how they got started, why they niched down where they did, maybe sometimes what they charge and what their real work looks like. And so today is no different. I have my podcast editor, who I eventually hired her after having her on my show to help me get this podcast going. And the truth was, I couldn't take on much more. And I needed somebody who knew her stuff. I love that Emily is a military spouse. I love that she started as a virtual assistant and needed clarity and hone down in podcast management and podcast editing. So Emily Porter is my guest today. Let's dive into all of her magical insight to the podcast world. Hey everyone, and welcome to our Thursday interview. Today I have another Emily with us. I have Emily Porter, who started out as a VA and is now a podcast manager. That's what I'm calling you. You tell me what your job is. And she's going to tell us all about what she does online, how she got started, and how you could look into these type of services for your business. So take it away, Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily. I live in Fort Rucker, Alabama, in the middle of nowhere. My husband is in the Army. He is going to be a Black Hawk pilot, so that is why we're here. We will be moving to Hawaii in the summer, so I'll be living the island life.
Oh, I didn't know that. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a little adjustment. Got to get over there first.
Yeah.
But I actually got started in this beginning of 2019. We knew we were going to be coming to Fort Rucker. And we had one son at the time. We now have two, but we had one son at the time, and I decided to stay home while my husband was in flight school because the hours are just crazy. You know, they're early mornings, like 4 a.m. and, there's night flying. So it just didn't work out with his job because I actually had worked in healthcare prior to this. So I worked nights. So it wasn't going to work out. And I didn't want to be gone all day for 12 hours and miss pretty much my son being up from like 7 to 7. So I decided to find something online while I stayed at home because I realized I give props to any mom who is I don't want to say just a stay-at-home mom, but who is a stay-at-home mom. It is hard work. And I needed something for myself. So I started kind of looking around and I found being a virtual assistant. And I was like, I think I can do that. Got to give it a shot. So I had actually joined a course. I don't know exactly if it's like yours, but it was just like a self-paced one. It was a self-paced course, and it actually had like where she would put out links to possible job prospects. You had to pitch yourself, but she taught you all this stuff. And so I joined it, and actually within like 2 weeks, I got my first client, but then I kind of stalled because I didn't know what else I was, they're like, go to Facebook groups. What Facebook groups? I was a lost cause. And so I started doing it. I was working with her. I was doing a lot of, like social media, like updating her blog and putting in like things for Instagram, like new pictures and getting those all like set up and scheduled out for her. And then I actually got an actual coach, like a one-on-one coach. Cause I was like, if I'm going to make this a legit, business for myself, I need help and I don't know what I'm doing. So
tell me about that. What did you feel like you needed help doing?
So, cause coming from a healthcare background, it's just so different in my mind compared to like the online space, and especially like people are looking for like social media and, like a lot of administrative tasks. I could help you breathe. I was a respiratory therapist. Like, you want to know how to breathe? I can help you breathe. I can help you, those kind of things. But it's, it's just a completely different world. And again, like it's all about putting yourself out there and selling yourself. And again, like everything I'd really read up until this point was like, try to get in these like Facebook groups or find your niche. I don't know what my niche is. Like, I have no idea. Like, I don't know who I want to serve, so I was like, I need help. And so I got a coach who we kind of, knocked down like where I really wanted to start. I was like, I wowould love to eventually be able to help other military spouses, like if I got big enough to, hire them on or teach them myself so that way. Because it's moving around. A lot of people, it's hard to keep a job or, find a new job every place you go.
Yeah.
I mean, had I stayed in healthcare, I probably would have been pretty lucky and been able to, but that's not most people. And I know, especially here where we live now, like jobs are hard to come by, especially for what you may have been paid somewhere else because the cost of living is so different here. It's a lot lower. And so people, it's like a shock of, like, you're going to pay me how much, and with the school. So I was like, that was my ultimate goal, but I was like, I don't know where I'm starting. So like, that's where I was like, I need a coach. And so she was really great about showing me not just like how to, like pitch myself to people, but okay, like getting, like systems set up, like, how are you going to do this? Like, where are you going to like Asana, Trello, like those platforms of like project management. And I use Dubsado. I don't know for like a client relate, like CRM, because I'm like, to put all of your leads in and how to have a lead capture form. Because in the first program I had found, like she talked a little bit about it, but it wasn't like, these are the steps. And so I'm like, where am I getting this? Like, they're like, you need to book a discovery call. Well, where am I getting this, scheduling platform and, all these things. And so it was like, I needed more help. I was like, this is a whole new world. So that's where I kind of got started. And so I was doing VA work, and my coach actually, she has a matchmaking business on the side that's like free. But so like, if you needed help and you're like, I don't know where to find a copywriter, you could, fill out, she has a whole form, and she'll try to pair you up with people she's either coached or people she knows. And then they can, pitch to. And she actually had someone who was like, she's like, I think you would love this, is they wanted someone to subcontract for podcast editing. And so I was like, sure, I'll talk to him. And because I was like, it's what I listen to all the time, our podcast. So I was like, yeah, I don't really know anything about, I didn't know there was like this back end of it, because yeah, if you listen to podcasts, it's great. Like, you're like, this is a great, but I didn't realize how much goes into just the back end of it. And so I ended up talking to her, and that was like the end of July of 19. And I've been subcontracting for her ever since. Yeah. So the company I work for, they've actually grown a lot. They think they're trying to double the amount of clients they already have right now. And they have like 4 or 5 subcontractors. So they're growing at a, pretty big pace, but they do a lot of small business owners, like, entrepreneurs, like that's who they do their podcast services for. And so that's how I got started in podcasting.
So explain to everyone, for those who might not know, what subcontracting is in this VA world.
Okay. So, or at least for me, subcontracting has been, she has these clients and she needs help, and she can't do it all because there's, too much. She doesn't have enough time for all the stuff she has to do. And so she has hired me as to contract certain podcasts for her, and that I do for her. So she pays me a portion of what she basically gets paid.
Yeah.
And so like if she say you get $100 for in each episode, I might get 50 or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it works for me.
And it's nice because she's bringing in the clients. You don't have to worry about the billing. Help me out. What else are some benefits about subcontracting?
It's been nice because, yeah, you don't have to worry about the billing. The only people I bill are like her, and I have a couple of other clients that I still do a little different work for. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, I don't have to worry about billing. I don't have to worry about going out and, being out on Instagram or Facebook all the time and constantly, putting out, pieces and pitching myself and talking to people. But I do enjoy that. So that's why I've been doing it. But I would like to also have my own clients because, it's nice to be my own boss at the same time. I got to be my own boss in both respects, but it's like, I still like to have the engagement part of talking to people. I don't want to just sit and stare at my computer all day. So I do like getting on there, but I don't have to worry about, okay, do I have something written for today? What can I post today? Am I getting in my DM saying, hey, have you thought about this? Do you need, like after I've made that connection, I don't just cold pitch people, but.
That's awesome, because I think that's a great place to start. when
Right.
you're new is being
Yes.
a subcontractor, and you can just have really like laser focused services. And as you gain the confidence and the skills, you start going off on your own. I
Right.
had some girls on my own team. I was doing the same thing and hiring them to do some of the work for clients. We did everything. I mean, I'm
Right.
so like everything from social media to graphic design. I mean, we're doing it all, the email marketing, the blogging, but it got a lot for me to manage. And so I encouraged a lot of them to go off on their own and just can make better money, and the clients can save
Right.
money not going through me. But
Right.
it's hard when you start because there are overhead expenses you're not really thinking about, the
Yes.
time it takes for billing. So that's why Nicole is somebody on my team who wanted to stay with me. She's like, I don't want to go off on my own. I want to stay with you subcontracted. So I'm like, okay, we can do that.
Right. Like it has its perks. Like it's definitely something that, because the season I'm in right now, like I have a just turned 2-year-old and a 4-month-old. So my time is very limited that someone is not, screaming, mommy, mommy, or crying, because they want to be fed. And so it has been nice for me because I'm like, I don't have to worry about those things. And I still know that money is coming in every month. So it
Yeah.
does have its perks. But yeah, I've learned so much from subcontracting that I would have never known on my, on my own, or it would have taken me how long to, realize these things. And so it's been really nice because it is, you get to learn, but get paid to learn at the same time.
So remind me how you found her. She's your business coach, or
No.
she hooked you up with a client?
Yeah, my business coach hooked me up with
Okay,
her.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
See, this is all about connections and who you know. It takes one client, and then you can like unleash, I don't know, the floodwaters. I don't know if I said that right,
Yeah.
but it all just can come into your lap when you just get one client and you do good work. And especially if that client is getting lots of referrals and getting known in her industry for her services.
Right.
So tell me what your week looks like. I'm curious how many clients you're helping. Do you work on the same clients' podcast? And fill me in on how many you're working on.
Yes. So right now I edit 5 podcast episodes a week.
Oh my God. How long
Yeah.
does that take you?
It honestly it depends a lot on the length of the episode and how well, I don't want to say how well they talk, but a lot of things come with practice, because a lot of people don't want to hear you say like all the time, or because you're trying to get your thoughts together. So if you're having to clip out those things a lot, or just in general, like if you start stuttering, or if I can clip it out, like it's great, but it's having to listen to it. So once you start to really usually know like how they talk, or the way they want it to flow, you can usually get it down to about maybe a 1-to-2 ratio. So for every minute of actual audio, it probably takes about 2.
Oh,
I will say though, I am a perfectionist. And so it might take me longer, because like once I've gone through and edited the whole thing, I'll go back and listen to a lot of where I've clipped it to make sure that it still sounds like, okay, this does sound right. And it's not, where you're like, oh, you can definitely tell someone's made a weird stop here, or something like that. And so it might take me a little longer. It just depends. So if it's a half-hour show, I'd say it takes me an hour to maybe an hour and 15, just depending on how much work needs to go into it. So it just depends. But I know I have one that I do that's normally anywhere from like an hour to an hour and 20. So that's like a
oh my gosh.
3-hour process, 2 to 3, depending on and especially if you have guests, sometimes it's more work just to get, between you and the guest, and how, the talking. So it just depends.
So how does a respiratory therapist learn audio editing skills?
A lot of it's, learning on the job. So when I started with her, she gave me a Loom video. If you've ever used Loom, it's great. And so she kind of showed, like, she took one of her episodes and was like, this is where I would, like, you see this long pause, I would cut it down, and just kind of some of those general things, or like where you kind of like smack your lips together when you're trying to, get a new thought or something. Nobody really wants to hear that. So learning, like she would show kind of that. Some of it she just talked through. And then, so for the first, I don't know, like say 5 episodes that I did, afterwards, she went through and actually listened to them and gave me feedback on,
Oh, okay.
yeah, like, I would have maybe done this, or, but some of it really is just, I think if you have an ear for it, sounds really funny, but I mean, really, it's just if you kind of notice those like small nuancy kind of sounds when you're listening and being like, that doesn't sound right. Or, trying to figure out the way it should go. So I think a lot of it's just over time you start to pick it up if it's something you like. If not, you're just going to be like, do. Even me, sometimes I'm like, this episode, if it's something that's not really thrilling me on like what I'm listening to, it is sometimes hard to pay attention to like, like, oh crap, where am I? Like, what was I doing?
Like this podcast lost me. This topic is not my thing.
Yeah.
What do you use to do the editing? What software?
So I use GarageBand. If you don't have a Mac, because I like GarageBand. It's all I've ever known. There is a thing called Audacity. It's free, and you can download it to any type of computer, and it will work on there. I've done a little bit of work in there. Like I've used it to do some noise reduction. Where if your computer fan is on and you can hear those in like an episode, you want to take that stuff out. So I do use Audacity for like noise reduction, but you can just, cut and clip, and it's just, I know GarageBand, so it's easier for me, but there are other ones. There's Adobe Audition. That one costs money, but so there's a ton of them out there, but those are probably like the three big ones that people typically use, or at least in this world. If you're like super into like those narrative podcasts, or like there are some, I think, bigger, software out there, but probably for any of us, it would be one of those three is just fine.
Yeah. Thank you for the practical recommendation. So I use iMovie to edit a lot of my own videos, and I can look at the sound file and I see all of my tongue clicks before I start. I see some of my clients, I can just see the I've gotten so fast at it, I can just go right there and just cut it out without even hearing it, because I know what the patterns look like.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful mind.
Yes. And sometimes you will start to be like, oh, like I can clip it here, or I can do this. But I mean, a lot of it is because everyone talks so different. It's like, oh, you just, yeah. But like clicks I can do. I'm like, oh, there's a click. Like, but I mean, I have to listen all the way through. But yeah, I have used iMovie, and iMovie's pretty nice for some of that stuff too.
I just was not trying to buy anything new and just keep it simple, but it's how fast I've gotten. I've only been editing videos for maybe a year and a half now. I used to do it back in college, and then I didn't want to touch it.
Yes.
And it's just so important right now that I had to kind of brush up my skills and just get over myself and learn it. It's probably not that hard. You just have to figure it out.
Yeah, I do. For somebody, this is a different client. I actually write all of her show notes. They do video and audio for their podcast, and I don't touch how to, clip those together. I was like, that's not in my wheelhouse right now. Like, not something I really want to learn. But she wanted to take clips of just her because she has a co-host, and so I actually clip in iMovie myself and clip just where it's like of her talking, and then so that way she can put them to like her Instagram stories, her Facebook stories, her So I have done a little bit in iMovie.
That's perfect. That's all they need sometimes. It's just this clip.
Yeah. So it's not bad. And then it's just like transcribing it, which I use something to, but then it's like, it's always funny when you have something like the, automated intelligence, like transcribe something, and then you look at it and you're like, that's not what they said at all. So then I have to go back in and like fix it. But it's better than me having to timestamp all that stuff. So
yes. Oh my gosh. So, okay. So how you're working on 5 podcasts a week right now.
Yes.
Right. And then you have your own clients. So tell me about the different services you provide as far as pre-production, production, promotion. Just fill us in on all of it that goes into it.
My one client is actually still a VA client, so he has nothing to do with it. The only other one, because I really have just stuck with subcontracting, because I'd been doing a lot of social media prior to that, and they've all, separated from me. But I do also, it's the one I was talking about. She already has the podcast edited because they do the video with it, and that's not something I do. But so I go in and I take a listen to it. I write the show notes for it. I create the graphic for it. For like Instagram and Facebook, I'll create the graphic, which I actually do an audiogram. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, what an audiogram is. And so for anybody who doesn't know what an audiogram is, it's just a clip from the podcast itself of, and it's usually some sort of like a tip or a juicy part where you're like, ooh, I want to listen more to this. You want, your audience to listen more. So I'll clip that, piece it with the graphic that I've created, and then I put it into a website called Wave, WAVVE, and that creates the audiogram, and then you can put captions with it. And so for some of them I put captions, and for other ones I don't, because they do guest, and so that one just a big clip of the guest. But so I do the audiogram for her, and then I actually create the social media like captions, and then I upload them for her. So I do all of that for her.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I recently discovered Headliner, and
Yes.
I've been doing that one, and I like it because it pulls up the podcast automatically as soon as it's published. And it's just, gosh, all these programs are making life so much easier for us.
Yes.
No?
Yeah. I use Headliner for my client, like for those clips of her, but she's realizing like the videos are off centered, like of her. But I think it's because the way like she's filmed, she's not quite centered. So like sometimes they're off. So when they go into story size, she's not centered. And I'm like, well, first of all, I didn't even notice until you told me. So I wouldn't have noticed. And I'm like, there's no way for me to adjust this in Headliner. And so like now I'm trying to find a different site that will create the transcription of it and all that. And I'm like, so much work, but there's so many out there. But then it's like, is it free or am I going, like, is it going to have to be a paid subscription? Because there's one called Subtitle, which I just found.
Oh,
which looks really nice. And I think it's a lot of what she was wanting, but it's one that you have to pay every month. So it's like,
oh my God.
as the client, are you willing to pay?
Right. And with the podcasts are already paying for hosting, the VA work, and
right.
They're not usually making money from a podcast. It's usually kind of a top of funnel service. So to have to be able to be a VA and find the free tools is awesome, but I don't know if I would want to pay for that either.
Yeah.
Maybe if I were Amy Porterfield.
Right. Exactly. Amy Porterfield.
By the way, I got to meet her new podcast guy that she hired at her event in San Diego. And I asked him, I was like, okay, I got to ask a smart question and seem smart. And I was like asking, I forget how I phrased it, but I wanted his best tip for getting your podcast found. And he told me that they take the transcript.
Yes.
And they put it on another blog post that's hidden. So that way it's pulling up all of the SEO. And I was like, that's freaking genius. Because, they already have the transcript that they provide. Like, not all of my clients do that, but I never thought about embedding it in a blog post and hiding the blog post. Like, I got to find the logistics of how they did it.
Right.
But I was
interesting.
Good.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah. Because that bumps up your SEO rating. So that is ingenious. I won't lie.
Yeah. So if you find out the steps, let me know. If I actually do it for my client right now, I'll let you know. So, okay, we have a couple questions. Can you tell Carol really quick how long you were a VA before you decided to niche down to this? Like, give her your quick timeline again.
Okay, so I started in January of 19. I didn't really make it official until about March of 19, where I was like, okay, this is what I really want to do. And then I started editing in July, but I wasn't it was like September, beginning of October. I was like, don't really enjoy social media. It's not something that is for me personally. And so I was like, I really want to just do podcast editing. I just had to put it on hold because I had to have a baby. And so everything got put on the back burner while I had a baby and, tried to take a little bit of time off. So it was like this year, January, I was like, okay, kind of announced to the world per se, like, hey, this is what I'm doing now, so I guess so all in all, I mean, it was maybe 9 months from when I started to when I was like, this is what I really like to do. But it gives me the flexibility because when I was doing social media, I was having to be on, Instagram, Facebook, Monday through Friday at certain times, because that's when my clients needed to be posting and engaging and I'm like, it didn't give a lot of flexibility for me because I'm like, I have to either be around or on my phone. And I'm like, with this, at least I know I can be like, okay, I do most of my work. Like I do a lot of my work on Sundays and Tuesdays now.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's nice because my husband's home on Sunday. So if I need to really go and work, I can be like, I got to go. I'm going to go out, or I do it during nap time. And then after they go to bed, because I have two episodes that come out on Tuesday. So I like to have those done for sure by, Sunday. That way it gives it a day. I have a little bit of time, and then I'll do some on Tuesday or in Monday during nap time if I can. But yeah, Sunday through Tuesday is about my big, this is when I work. And then
Yeah. Because you can pretty much count on your clients getting the podcast by a certain date. Like, do you guys explain how that system is? And also, just to piggyback off this question, are clients batch editing? Tell me how that looks from the back end. Hey, this podcast is sponsored by my very own GIF and sticker making workshop. Turn your clients' videos into GIFs, design branded stickers for Instagram stories, and master the art of making your own GIF for promo emails. This is fun unicorn magic that we can do behind the scenes easily for our clients. The workshop is 1 hour, just $17.99. The link is in the show notes, or go to emilyreaganpr.com/GIF workshop. That's GIF workshop. Back to the show.
For mine, they all have to, they're supposed to have them in like 3 days prior to when they go out. So if it goes out on like a Tuesday, they're supposed to have it in on Saturday, which is nice. And then, so sometimes they don't, usually they'll give me a heads up, like, hey, like, if they have a guest and it's not done until like Saturday late, and you're like, I probably won't have it until, say Sunday morning, or, which is fine because I don't usually do a lot of work on Saturdays. So not a big deal for me.
But then you plan on it. Like, okay, she's coming through. I need to allot 3 hours for this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I kind of like. It's just, I wish I could do something in 3-hour blocks. It just never happens around. But yes, that's what I kind of like. Okay. Like on Sundays, I'm like, okay, if I have these 2 episodes, like it's going to be, maybe 5-ish hours, depending on the length, but so that's how I kind of plan it. That they're supposed to have it in 3 days prior. Like, so if I don't have it in by like Saturday and it's like Sunday, I'll be like, hey, just trying to see where your, episode is, like, just so I can plan, because they are people I subcontract for, but they're like, if they don't get it in and you don't have time, they know, like, if they don't have it in on time, it may come out later than their regular scheduled day. So they're all aware, like, if for some reason it's in late and I don't have the time, or, something comes up and I only have limited time, like,
yeah,
you didn't get it until Monday, it's due Tuesday, it's probably not going to come out Tuesday. So
not everybody is Amy Porterfield and works 3 months ahead.
Right.
Episode.
None of the ones I do batch them. It would be great if they did. Some of them get them ahead pretty early, which is nice. So then I'm like, it gives more time to be like, okay, I have some free time. Like today, like somebody already had it in. And I'm like, ooh, I'll just start doing it today. That way I don't even have to worry about it, come Monday or, whatever. So
can I ask you how you charge for this? And I'm going to guess that it's a per project rate, but fill everyone in on that.
I bill per episode. So it just kind of depends on, because all of them kind of get billed at a different rate. So like if I just do the straight editing, and I don't just edit, we create the audiogram for them and we upload to their media host as well. Mm-hmm. So I'll do all of that. If I just do the editing and uploading, I get paid $55-$60, versus if I do something with show notes, I get paid more if there are show notes included, because I have to sit there, take the notes myself, and then turn them into something. So that obviously takes a little bit more time. So I get paid more if show notes are included. And then the one that's the longest, because she also has some, it's not just a straight like, oh, she's talking the whole time. Like she has some extra clips put in there, and they are longer episodes where she likes, like if she has a clip that's like one of somebody she knows might be like trying to kind of promote themselves on hers, but she'll, add them in. It's like a segment. And so it's like they're talking, but there's also music. So you have to fade the music in, fade the music out, so it's just a little bit more time involved. And so I get paid more to do all those extra things. And then actually I just started launching for them as well. That I don't know what I'm doing price wise, but yes. So I'm starting to do launches as well. So
or your subcontracting clients.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. How does a launch really differ from, I know you want to release a couple at a time, but I'm just thinking out loud, how does that really differ? Like, do they need more hand holding? I guess they need cover art.
Yeah. It's more hand holding. Like they have it. So they have it kind of like step by step, like you kind of do this, you're going to do this, create your episodes 1, 2, and 3, because usually they recommend anywhere from 3 to 5 episodes that you already have ready. So when you actually, the day of your launch, there's 3 episodes or 5 episodes, that your potential viewer can listen to, because you don't want to just listen to one and be like, now I need to wait a week or, 2 weeks to listen to something else. And so it's, getting the cover art done. And a lot of them have like a preset, like audiogram cover as well. So it's not just the cover art for the, like if somebody pulls it up on Apple Podcasts, like, oh, it's not just that clip, but they'll have an audiogram one. So it's like, you have to finalize that. You have to get your media host set up. So like, are you going to use like Libsyn, Anchor? What kind of media host are you going to use? Finding music for your like intro and outro, are you going to talk in your intro and outro? Or you're like, I don't want to, I don't want to be the voice in the intro outro. Like, are you going to find somebody else to do the intro? So it's a lot of steps, or, like, what microphone am I going to use?
Yeah.
We also do like test audio to make sure like how it's sounding before they even go to record. Like, okay, does this actually sound good? Or do you maybe need to be closer or further away? Or, you really over enunciate maybe something where you really hear those P's or B, where maybe you need a filter for this, things that, it's just so it actually, when you go to record, it's not like, we can't probably use any of this. Like, let's try to go back, so at least so it's just like baby steps to getting to that whole big project. And I know the person I subcontract for, like, she does a lot of mindset coaching with them as well. Like, because, yeah, you say you want to start it, but it's like getting all over all these humps. Like, what am I going to talk about? How am I going to do this? Like, how can I eventually make money on this? Like, I think there's just a lot of things. And there are some easy ways that I think people forget when it comes to like you potentially making money off your own podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk about yourself. Like, if you're a coach, talk about your coaching. Like, hey, I offer one-on-one services. Because if you get one person who listens and is like, I need this, depending on what your coaching services cost or, whatever, you might have made back a decent amount of money. Or, I think people always think sponsors, like these big name sponsors. And you have to have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of downloads to really make any money off of sponsors.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think there's a word out there called pod fade. Have you heard of it? When people start their podcast, and a lot of them are doing it for visibility and because they're supposed to, and then they just don't have the follow through with it for whatever reason. And then they pod fade. They just kind of fade out and disappear. And I think a lot of it is because they start probably doing it all by themselves, doing everything. And it's a lot of work.
Yes, it is. Like, that's why I'm like, I don't think people understand. Like, it's not just like you record and you put it up. Yes, you
honey.
Right. Yeah. Like, yes, you could just record and put it up. Yeah. But obviously quality content over quality sound is probably, more important. But does somebody really want to listen to a podcast that sounds, echoey the whole time, or lots of ums and clicks, and where you're like, oh my God, this is, so it's like, then do you want to learn how to edit? Because it's going to take you at least a couple hours, probably, depending on the length, to edit and do all these other things. And so I don't think people realize all the steps that are involved.
How much it costs to do that.
Yes.
I have a quick logistical question. How do you know you have a podcast ready for you? Is it in a Google Doc, a Dropbox? Like, how do you get sent the podcast?
We get them all sent either through Google Drive. They all have their own like separate folder. So it has their artwork, their intros, their outros, a couple of the live episodes that are already been live. And then a couple folders for like, if they're already had episodes say 16, 17, and 18 are there. So you can drop in your thing and then they just let us know. Otherwise, we run everything through Slack.
Okay.
And so otherwise they'll just drop it in a Slack channel and we can download from there.
Okay. And kind of people, okay, pass the buck. Now it's your turn. I've done my part.
Yep. And so when I'm done, then I just notify them and they're like, hey, your episode's, ready to go. Everything's good to go. So
I cannot believe you've only been doing this for a year. You sound like such an expert. I am so impressed. I cannot wait to help you get more clients because I'm trying to send people your way.
I know. I appreciate it. I'm like,
I really did. I had no idea you'd only been doing this a year, let alone the podcasting thing seriously for kind of a few months.
Yeah. I mean, so that's why I haven't complained about subcontracting, because they actually asked me to do a little bit more. And I'm like, great, sure. More I can learn, the more it helps me, more it helps you. So I'm all for it. Yeah. It's nice. It's just, again, it's finding the time. It's hard being a mom and trying to work at home.
Yeah. And what a difference that makes for your family. I like just, knowing you have 5 episodes a week and you can pretty much count on that income every month. Yes. And you could take on more if you once your kids are bigger. I know with me, when I had little kids, I mean, I still have little kids, but I would work before I did daycare. I would work Sunday morning, Saturday morning, in the evening, and at nap time. And that's how I got it all in. And it was always little 15-minute chunks.
Yes.
And that kind of drove me crazy in one way. That's like a whole nother topic. But I love that you have a per project rate. So you can just get it done and not keep track of the hours.
Yes, it is nice. Yeah. Though they've asked in the past, like, how many hours is it normally taking you? And I'm like, I don't sit there because I'm like, I'd have to be on, off. Like, oh my God. I just guesstimate because I'm like, I don't have time to do that if I, because it's like, I'll try to do like 15 minutes and then somebody's like, mom, can you come here? And I'm like, yes. So yeah, nap times. But now because my kids are at different stages, a lot of times they don't nap at the same time. So it's been even extra hard.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up. And Carol is asking, how much did your coach cost you?
My coach cost me, I think it was a little less than it was like 5,000. It was a lot, but it was for 6 months. It was 3 like one-on-one like coaching calls every month. And then, like I said, she had the matchmaking service. So that's actually where a lot of my clients originally came from, was through that matchmaking service. So I made back everything that I paid her and more by, maybe not by the end of it. I think I had, made it back, but then I had invested in, because had a different computer. So I had to invest in a MacBook, which was fine because I have everything else Apple. Why wouldn't I have a Mac? So, and then there's also I bought editing software as well, noises and stuff. So to fix the sounds and stuff. So all that cost money too. So, but to me, she was worth it. If you can get a coach and if you're confident in yourself, hey, this is however much, but if I can make this back, even if it is 6 months later, you didn't lose anything either. So
you are making me look really good right now because my digital media VA crash course is only $500.
Okay.
And I do matchmaking because I'm getting lots of client leads and I'm getting better at the mindset stuff. But, 5,000, I had no idea. That just made me look so good. So thank you. But it is, you need to, if I'm not your coach or your teacher or whatever you call me, people who progress faster, they learn from someone who is ahead of them and knows what they're doing. You also progress faster if you have a network. And Emily is proof of that. She starting out new, it would have been really hard, not impossible to get clients, and let alone for you to find your niche. You have direction for that, which is amazing. So just everybody take note. And then the people who are in my crash course, go watch your lessons.
Yes.
Your money's worth out of that.
Yes, they are extremely helpful. Yeah. Investing is definitely expedited where I probably would have been, or I probably would have honestly given up prior to, because I've been like, where am I supposed to find these? You say it's so easy, but where is this?
Oh my gosh. Who says it's easy? It's not.
It's not, no. But, you'll see these people talking it's just people I made, 10K in 2 months. And I'm like, how? You know what I mean? And they're not saying it doesn't happen, but for most people, that's not reality. So
reality is you get started, you're making an hourly rate and just trying to get as much experience as possible and saying yes to everyone and all the tasks and figuring out what you want to do. And it's not a 6-figure business. It's
right.
I'm not trying to pretend it's something it's not. Okay.
Right.
Real quick, I want to know what your favorite podcast is, Emily.
My favorite podcast, I'm weird and I like personal finance podcasts. So nothing to do with what I actually edit usually. So I Afford Anything, Bigger Pockets. I'm kind of in that weird space of
gosh, I've never listened to any of those.
Yeah. I'm but it's nice because it's not something that I edit. So it's kind of a whole different realm of listening.
Yeah, I did like the one, oh my gosh, I'm going to blank out. It's a money one. Oh, I'll get back to you later. I'm just not on my A game today. Okay. Also, now after editing all of these podcasts and getting a lot of feel at the back end, what makes a good podcast to you? What are you noticing?
One, for me, sound is obviously a big thing and it sounds hysterical, but let's be real, most people aren't going to be able to record in a sound studio. The best places to record are either in a closet, because there's lots of clothes to absorb the sound, or build yourself a blanket fort. A blanket fort, because it still absorbs all that sound. And then, because to me, I'm having listened to so many, I'm when you hear all those echoes, if you were saying I want to create a podcast, and you can turn Facebook Lives into podcasts, which is great. But I'm in pretty much an empty room. You're in a big room. The sound, you can definitely tell the difference. And so for me, sound is a huge thing. That, and just really knowing what you want to talk about. because some people, it's like, you can really tell that, I'm not saying you have to have a script for your, every episode, but a general outline of what you're really wanting to talk about is really helpful on, making smooth transitions and just kind of having an overall, like, this is what I want to talk about. And it's not like, well, today I just decided I'd hop on and,
Yeah. That doesn't get my attention at all if I'm a listener. I'm like, sounds like you were lazy on this one. Next.
Yeah. And like, sometimes it's nice if, like, even if you have like a Facebook Live or something, those are great. But it's, if you can really clip out like, hey, like if you're live, if you're here, like or you have any questions. So like, I've done a lot where I've clipped out those things. Cause I'm like, if I'm listening to a podcast, I don't really want to know that you really reuse this. Like, I wasn't your most important. You're not, you know what I mean? So like,
oh my gosh, yes, this is such a, like, one of those things that makes me angry. I feel like it's so lazy.
Like, I understand, like, because it's a lot of work if you're doing Facebook Lives, a podcast. Like, I totally get it. So like, one of our clients that I usually do, she does do a lot of lives, which is great, and they're very informative. And sometimes I'm like, man, because she's like a dating coach. So
you're so smart in the dating world.
I'm like, man, I needed you, like, long before I married my husband. But, like, she uses lives. And so, but I'm always clipping out, like, because she'll be like, does anyone have any questions? Or like, what are you guys' thoughts on this? I'm like, nobody wants,
Yeah. So you're editing for content. I mean, you're really paying attention to her message, which I think is unicorn status for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, those are things that I think are important because I'm like, I just want, you want to be like that person that who's listening to your podcast is the only person you're really talking to, and then, sound is big and knowing what you want to talk about.
Yeah. At the same time, I'll listen to Shailene Johnson's podcast and she'll do them on her phone in the car.
Yeah.
And they sound fine. And sometimes not perfect is okay, but you definitely don't want it to sound bad where you can't even inaudible. So
I know it is kind of funny. Sometimes I've had other people, like, I've listened to other ones and they're like, oh, like, when she was walking like the streets of Vegas doing it. And I was like, how does this sound so good? But I've listened to other ones of yours where I'm pretty sure you're sitting in your house and they sound awful. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, so yeah, usually if you're doing it on your phone, they don't usually come out that well, but sometimes they do pretty good. And I do love me some Shailene Johnson. So.
Well, I like your best takeaway from this entire interview is set up a blanket fort.
Yes.
Your clients to set up a blanket fort. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. Go ahead and please put in your social media, or I'll try to put it in the description because you have your hands full, but tell everyone where they can find you. And also if anyone wants to send her clients, where are you on Instagram?
You can find me on Instagram at emily.s as in Suzanne.porter. That's the best place to find me. That's where I'm usually on. I do have a Facebook page, and I'm a little lax on because I've switched over. I haven't really got my Facebook page switched over yet because life has happened. And just like I'm in the process of getting a website because again, I changed services, so what I had doesn't really apply anymore. So it's just getting all those steps done. It's just life has happened. Instagram is
off of that. Some of my VAs are really getting stuck on their names and their Facebook pages. And I'm like, look, it's just not as important right now. Everything's going to change. Right. So this is a good testimony to that.
If that helps any, yes, I struggled with like knowing my name in the beginning. I was like, I don't know what it, like, should I just be my name? My name's pretty generic, like Emily Porter. It's not something, it doesn't per se, I don't want to say stand out. You know what I mean? Like, and, my coach was like, you can name it whatever you want. And so that's where I'd come up with my, what my business page is, which is Deco, which is just like my oldest son's name, because this little guy wasn't here yet. My name and my husband's name, and then like company. And now I'm just like, I'll probably end up just going by my name because I don't need to have anything special, because if somebody wants to work with me, they're going to work with.
They're choosing you.
Yeah, they're choosing me. They're not choosing, oh, she's got a cool name.
Yeah.
Because you could have a cool name and not know anything. So it doesn't really.
Yeah. And when I saw Deco, I assumed that it was an acronym.
Yes.
Probably because you're military. I don't know. And it also says nothing about what you do. So I think branding yourself is smart. I think your name is, it is common, but not, I don't know any other Emily Porter. So I think run with it. So yeah, well, that'll be fun to watch you rebrand that. And I wish you the best of luck. I can't thank you enough for being here. And you on Instagram.
Yes. Thank you so much. It's nice talking to you. Bye.
So please reach out to Emily. She's on Instagram. I know she shared that, but definitely check out the show notes. Follow her podcasting tips. If you're interested in being a niche down digital media VA who does podcasting, Emily would be a great resource to follow and connect with. So next week on the show, we are talking about how to exploit the one thing you're good at and make your freelance business a lot of money. So I'll see you then. If you're ready to learn the digital marketing and social media skills that will get you hired online, head over to vacrashcourse.com, where you can learn about my 5-week program, the Digital Media VA Crash Course. Small business owners and solopreneurs want to hire someone who gets it and who can help them implement just about everything. They're looking for a magical assistant who does it all. With my comprehensive training, you can get your foot in the door and become a unicorn. Check out vacrashcourse.com. I don't want to dilute. That's not the word. Gosh, I'm really bad with words today. What am I trying to say? Not dilute. Delude.
Can I sneak out for 1 second? My son is screaming bloody murder.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
I'll be right back.